I think it's really powerful to consider who is doing the bulk of the thinking in your classroom. There were many moments in my teaching career where I was like, I'm working the hardest out of anyone in this room because I was doing some of that to myself. I wasn't putting enough of the thinking on my students. One really great way to bring in more student thinking is with Edpuzzle student projects. Edpuzzle student projects allow students to upload their own video, record a video with Edpuzzle's built-in recorder, or select a video from YouTube. They can then add their own questions and notes, just like teachers can in the videos that they assign to students. This really allows our students to engage in some of those higher order thinking skills. Teachers can then create an authentic learning experience for students, and they can add the created student projects to a class library and assign those projects to their class. So when you want students to create video instead of just consuming video, Edpuzzle student projects is going to be a great tool. Let's look at some sample project ideas. For example, maybe you have high school students and you want them to read aloud a picture book for a third grade classroom and embed some multiple choice questions related to that book for students. For a sample social studies project, maybe you're teaching about the Enlightenment philosophers, and you want each student to embody a philosopher and have that student identify, dress up as that philosopher and talk about what they believe, what they might think about modern day issues. And you could even set this up like a 1980s dating/friendship where students have to be thinking about if their philosopher would connect or work well in a relationship, a friendship, a romantic relationship with another person's philosopher. Sample science project, maybe you want students to demonstrate a physical or chemical change and record that while also explaining the differences between physical and chemical changes. For a sample community builder, maybe you want to start the school year by having each student select a song from YouTube that is their theme song, a school appropriate song, and add some notes to the video explaining how that song connects to their hopes and dreams for that school year or for that year. Could also be a good New Year's activity. So how do we make a project? We'll go to Add New. We would click on Student Project, and then we can go ahead and put our subject. I'll just say enlightenment. I mean, I'm going to give you some resources to come up with better descriptions. And I will just do the same thing here. And then on my right-hand side, what I can do is identify, do I want students to find a YouTube video, record themselves, or upload a video? I'm going to select all three so that I can show you what it looks like from the student perspective. I would then save and assign it. I'll pick my class I'm going to assign this to. If I click on this Enter Instructions box, something I could do is I could actually add a file to make it a little bit cleaner for students that they could reference. If I put this in my LMS, maybe I'd insert my file there, but wanted to let you know that this feature is available in Edpuzzle. I'll go ahead and insert a file just so that you can see what this will look like on the student end. Let's now see what this looks like for students. The first thing is when they navigate to their assignment, they will be able to see the instructions. So they could download the instructions that you gave for the project. This is just a sample document, not actually for this project. I'm just want to walk you through this. And then they can go ahead and they could hit start for their project. Now, when they'd also be able to see the goal and instructions for the project, which would be much better than what I've inputted. I'd click Start Project, and then they'd have the option, are they going to find a YouTube video, upload a video, or record themselves? Let's say they want to find a YouTube video, and they want to, for this project, maybe this is the theme song project. So they would go to find a YouTube video. The theme song of the year is Season of the Sticks by Noah Kahan. So they could grab that video and click Use for Project. So just like as a teacher, you can put in your questions. It's exactly the same way for a student. So they'd go to their questions tab, they'd watch. Split in half, but that'll have to do. So maybe they are going to put in a note here. So they could go ahead and enter a note here. This relates to me because... They could also put in a question here. And then when they're happy with it, they can rename it and they could click finish and turn in the project if they would like at that point. Or let's say that they were going to upload a video or record themselves. Let's have students record themselves for this. Okay, so the climate that I'm picking is the rainforest. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the rainforest. The rainforest gets what you would expect, a lot of rain. There can be tropical rainforests. There can also be rainforests that aren't tropical. For example, blah, 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 blah. Then students are going to have that opportunity to add in their questions. Okay, so they could, ask a multiple choice question and go ahead and keep doing that. And then when they're happy, they can click finish and they could turn this in. Now on the teacher end, let's take a look at what those look like. So let's look at my student assignment. I'd see I have one new answer to grade and I can see Sarah's assignment. I could click on her video and I see that she has her song. I can see the questions. I could add some comments for her and I could give it a grade. Maybe she got a 70% on this. Once I've graded it, something I can do is I can assign this, save it to my content. So in my content, I'm now able to see Sarah's song and I could assign this just like I do with videos to the rest of my class. The same practice would occur for a student recording themselves. It would allow you to do exactly what I just did for the YouTube video assignment. So let's look at best practices for creating student projects, and then I'm going to give you a resource that you can use to build projects. First of all is your learning target should contain a verb that really pushes thinking. Instead of just saying, okay, explain the Industrial Revolution, really have students go beyond just surface level and think about that verb. Are they analyzing the negative and positive effects? Are they comparing and contrasting the Industrial Revolution with and kind of the AI boom? Those might be better questions. Those are going to be more engaging projects. Make sure that you create a rubric before you assign the project to students and that you share that rubric explicitly with students. They know exactly what to look for. Chunk the project into different steps and directions and make sure that you upload those documents into the instructions of the project or in your LMS. Make sure you're choosing the video source that makes sense, whether that's YouTube and upload or that Edpuzzle recorder. And provide students some sort of outline that they can use for their project. Maybe that is, a fill-in, a script that they can kind of fill in, but really thinking intentionally about that. And then most importantly, plan to teach your students how to write good questions. If you don't do that, from my own experience, students are just going to write what I always called right there questions, which is just, oh, they just said this, repeating that. Teach your students to ask some of those deeper questions. I am going to link access to a student project design template. It will give you examples of an exemplar project and some things that you might want to put in, such as your learning target, what your goal is, what your rubric is. I have a sample rubric for my Enlightenment Philosopher project, what those chunked instructions are, again, with a sample, where your video source will be, thinking about what your question mini lesson is going to be. I think it's also really important for there to be an audience that students know who they are making this project for. Is it for classmates? Is it maybe for a third grade classroom? Is it for the principal? Who are they creating this project for? Maybe it's persuasive. Maybe it is teaching a mini lesson. So really thinking intentionally about that. And then just make sure that you are identifying who's doing the core of the thinking. So I'll drop a sample project sheet so that you can use that. Have a great time building projects. I think they're a really awesome way to put the thinking back on students.